I had a couple people message me and ask me for my opinion about this, and this is going to be the only opinion I have ever had about this whole situation, okay? So the day that Gypsy got off parole, not only did she write like a 10 picture slide essay of her journey and her time in prison and discrediting herself into a murder of her mother. Not only did she tag all of the creators' hashtags in that post, which I find very weird because she doesn't even have half of those creators unblocked. It's just another way to get people to come to my profile. Thank you very much. But not only did she do all of that and go that extra mile to make sure people were able to see it, because honey, we weren't. You have us blocked. But she also posted a email correspondence between Nick and, you can say it was his then girlfriend. We'll just put it in the easiest ways to keep it straightforward here, okay? But this was a woman that was communicating with him, and she posted up this email from this woman, right? And I've seen this email before. I've seen this email. I've seen a few other emails between this woman. She goes by the name Dawn. And I never really got into it. I knew the basis of it, but I knew a lot of people just were like, oh, well, Dawn and Dawn this, and saying that it proved things right or wrong or whatever. But here's why I never believed that email when it had initially come out. And here's why. In my quest of talking about Gypsy Rose Blanchard and all that has to do with her, I came in contact with a guard at the prison that I vetted and confirmed they were legitimate. They actually, I mean, I haven't talked to them in quite some time, but they were working at the jail at the time. This person also had numerous friends in the jails, and also knew a few people that knew of Gypsy in the female prison, but this person worked in the male prison. And so I asked a bunch of questions back then, and this was something that was actually brought to my attention. This email, this person brought it to my attention. And she tells me like, hey, Ash, if this is something that you ever bring up, I want to let you know that this email is fake. Not only one, could she tell because she knows what the emails in the prison system look like, but two, she said it would have never gotten through and he would have been reprimanded and it would have been on his records that this took place. That person would have been permanently removed from his contacts list. That was the biggest red flag, because at the time we knew that he had been doing really good in prison. There was nothing of this nature. Even later on, now where we're sitting at, we know that to be fact. He's never gotten in trouble for it. But she did also state to me that the top of the email did look altered in a way. And to me, the writing in this specific email that Gypsy posted looks altered to me. That's just my opinion. But the person that works in the prison told me that they go through physical and email correspondence with a fine-tooth comb. Nothing can quote unquote get through, which has been the narrative for Gypsy and her camp for a while, is that it just basically got through. But I'm here to tell you that I confirmed months ago, like probably, God, I don't even remember when I was started. I want to say this was after the whole Ken event happened last year, is when this person DM'd me and I was able to vet them. I've known this for a very long time, that there is no way that something like that was ever going to get through the hands of the jail. And for anybody that thought that it could, like, you guys do know what prisons and jails and all that stuff are for, right? And you do know that they do checks on everything, right? I don't know, I guess it just boggles my mind that some wouldn't think that far. But I've been watching the whole Madeline Soto stuff, and the stuff that they even take out of the emails that he's able to get back from his parents is crazy. Like, it takes out the weirdest stuff. And even whole ass emails. So sometimes the inmate doesn't even know what's going on because they're sent little portions of an email, or some are completely taken off. It's crazy. But the more you know, right? Again, that's the last I'll talk about it. It's not real. Whoever altered those documents has some deep rooted issues, and I have a feeling I know it's either Gypsy or somebody that she talks to. And I don't know about this Dawn chick. I never got in the middle of that because you know what I seen when I heard her name? Drama. I stayed far away from it. These little things, again, they kind of trip us up and take us back from what the real point of doing all this is, which is awareness and to gain media attention for the truth, right? Yeah. Hope that helps. All right, y'all. Here's my moment. I have not posted this here on TikTok. I posted it on my YouTube channel for subscribers only, and I think only like 3 people seen it. And before I get this video started, I want to preface this by saying that this is all solely my opinion, and this is just my observation from the situations at hand and what I have researched on my own. But did you guys see that Gypsy Rose Blanchard and Ken Urker are in Austin, Texas, where his mother lives? This is also where Ken lived prior to moving to Louisiana. And if you guys are unaware, Ken, prior to moving to Louisiana, was a bartender. And prior to moving to Louisiana, he was at a bartender at Applebee's specifically. But prior to that, he was working on Rainey Street. Now, if you guys seen the live that they did yesterday, they were at a bar. I don't know where the bar is. I haven't researched any of that. But they were with the guy. I'm not really sure what they call the guy. CB, I think, is what Ken called him. And the guy was very interesting, very eclectic. And I remember seeing this guy somewhere that somebody had sent me. And you know where it was? It was on Facebook. So this guy, CB, we'll call him, he actually, when Ken had last visited Austin, I think it was like the first time he went back and visited Austin while being with Gypsy. He had posted a picture of them, and he was there. And something was off about this guy. Now, I want to preface this by saying Austin, Texas is also where Lady Bird Lake is. And Lady Bird Lake has had numerous killings over the past 10 years. And even though Austin, the city of Austin, does not want to say that there is people that are actively doing this, I believe that if there's not one person, there is a group of people doing this. Now, this is where stuff gets interesting, okay? Back when I did my research on Lady Bird Lake, because I do have a podcast and a YouTube video on Lady Bird Lake, I found that specifically the killings that started happening closer to like 2023 and on, or even a little before that, were very specific as to they were men and there was like homeless women. But when I seen this guy that is one of Ken's really good friends, because every time he goes out to Austin, he hangs out with this dude. Very suspicious. And again, this is just my opinion. It's very suspicious. It's in the area, and you guys can put 2 and 2 together. However, I find it very interesting that this guy was also like basically saying that Ken is gay. I don't think that this was like a humor that they have, because the way Ken was reacting, and even the way Gypsy reacted to this information. And in my opinion, I feel like Ken met this guy during his escapades, because if you know, you know. And a lot of the men that Ken was meeting in Texas were from Dallas, not specifically from Austin. But also, the ones from Dallas were from kind of before, because he did live in Dallas at a time. But I find it very interesting that they went live with this friend, because this friend is very suspicious. And it gets me questioning who exactly Ken hangs out with and what exactly he's into, if you know what I mean. I just want to touch on the fact that Gypsy was drinking again as well. And I guess this goes with the fact that when people were saying she's going to do this as much as possible, she's going to do it as much as possible. And like I had said, this is going to turn into a problem for her. You noticed Ken get mad at her because she's like, I think I've reached my limit, but I'm just going to keep going. Good luck with putting that bucket by the bed and getting her into the car, Ken. To me, Gypsy drinks a lot for somebody that claims she never drank. Again, just my opinion. But that live they did last night was very telling in a lot of different ways. And I think this trip to Texas is going to backfire on not only Gypsy but Ken as well, because I do believe we're going to learn a little bit more about Ken than we even want to know. But what do you guys think? Do you think that guy was weird? Do you get a bad feeling from him? And do you kind of see now what kind of people Ken likes to associate himself with? Yeah, think about that. The more you know. So I got this comment way more than one time, so I'm going to address it. Steve Wood was never real, in my opinion, okay? The person that found him is the same person that created him. If you know, you know, okay? Because isn't it weird that the person that came out and said this person posted this then had that one connection and nobody really paid attention to it because that person just went away, and that person kept harping on, that influencer kept harping on about it and claims that she was contacted by so many people but only showed 2 of them. And I can admit I never showed any of the men I was talking with because none of them wanted to come forward because they had private lives, and I expressed that. But just to put this in context, Steve Wood was a fictional character in this whole thing. If you believe differently, that's cool. But my belief is that, okay? However, I do know for a fact, and I'm still trying to find the info I need to find you guys to prove to you guys, because there's a lot of people that are still real skeptical that this is a person that Ken knows, even though they posted a picture together. But he does know this person because when he went to visit Texas, the first time he went to visit Texas after moving to Louisiana, he met up with this same guy, and this guy, Stevie, posted a picture of them hanging out. And I actually looked up because I watched Conspiracy's video on this whole thing, and I actually looked up where they were at, and surprising enough, it is close to Lady Bird Lake. So Ken does in fact know this guy, and this guy probably knows Ken even better than Gypsy does. So I wouldn't take his drunken words as drunken words. I would take them as truths. That's just my opinion though. And the internet did its thing. So I do remember seeing this back in April. Was Stevie, and he had shared a memory with Ken that was from a year prior. So essentially in 2023, he was friends with this guy named Stevie per Stevie's Facebook page. I'm also going to put up on the screen what Stevie had to say about us talking about people we quote unquote don't know. And to all the people that are asking how is Stevie famous, is basically he's a singer-songwriter, and he has very disturbing not only lyrics but music in the hard metal rock category of music. I would not recommend anybody listen to it, and this is part of the reason that I had this little conspiracy about the Lady Bird Lake and Ken Urker's friend Stevie and Ken Urker himself. So always think that to know one is to be one. in my opinion, and solely for entertainment and educational purposes only, guys. So, wow.